Good morning, everyone. Am I audible to the last? Yeah. So today we have Mr. Ganesh Sankaralingam from LatentVIew Analytics. So he's a very experienced person with over 2 decades of experience and in the fields of AI ML. And he's going to present you with the applications of GenAI in software development today. Hope it will be interesting for you and us. Let's join together and learn good things from.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for giving me this chance. Just to quickly introduce my team. So that's me, Ganesh Sankaralingam. I'll go into my little bit details later. Yaga is on his way. I have Setu Madhavan, Mani Karthik. So LatentVIew works with all the 5 technology clients: Microsoft, Google, Apple, HP, Meta. We do projects for them. So they are from the Microsoft team. So they'll be talking about what's going on, what are the latest Copilot solutions, right? So we will show you a demo of Copilot on how Microsoft is leveraging Copilot. Okay. I also have Sai Rohit and Debahuti. So you have Copilot, you have OpenAI. Those are the standard package software. So we'll show you another demo on OpenAI. So we want to show you how these solutions work. Then Debahuti and Sai Rohit work on the custom LLM stack. A lot of the customers don't want to use Copilot or GenAI. OpenAI. They want to build their own application. So we have our own NVIDIA-based application based on NVIDIA microservices. Pretty advanced. For example, NVIDIA's CEO is going to call out 10 company names in a conference tomorrow. We'll be one of them. Right? Globally, there are about 20 guys who have worked in that particular solution, and NVIDIA's microservices. So we'll share something about it. So we'll show you 3 solutions, and if there is time, I want to go through a code walkthrough. Right? I come here every year, so I want to go through a code walkthrough of how you build a vector database, how the LLM combines it, and how that can be done. Right? I'll ask the team to show it. So that way you get a feel for how GenAI is. So what I'm expecting as an outcome, how I hope you get from this is, okay, these are the 3 broad stacks. This is how a Python notebook with GenAI looks, right? If you can walk away from that, that's all you can expect in a 2-hour session, right? You won't be able to go back and build a GenAI model all by yourself. I wouldn't expect that, and you shouldn't expect that from this session either, right? But that's something I'd like you to do. So Debahuti and Sai Rohit will show that. Setu and Mani Karthik will show the OpenAI and Copilot solutions. So I also have here with me Ranga. Ranga is my growth team. Growth team as in he talks to a lot of prospects. So we work with Fortune 500 companies, right? I said about 5 or 6 logos, but all big names, right? So he is the prospect facing person. So he gives the demo, he talks to the customer, he understands what their requirements are. So he would be able to talk about what is he hearing from the market, right? What is reality, right? We are the guys who actually, reality, there's a lot of news article going on, and then there is what is really happening in the market. He can give you a flavor of what that is. So just a little bit more background about myself. I was involved in designing this program with Professor Andrew, right? So I've been in the industry for about 20 years plus, 10 years in US, 10 years in India. So Professor Andrew and I go a long way. Bharati, Professor Andrew, go a long way back. So I've been involved. I've also been involved in designing the IIM Calcutta's PGDBA program, business analytics program. I was a visiting faculty there. Due to time commitments, I'm not able to take a course or anything for you guys. Just that I can do this and that. So maybe in the future I can come and take a course or something with my team on GenAI and help you actually build the skill. But we can afford a couple of hours. Hopefully you can make the most out of it. That's about the introduction from my side. Now I can't come and ask introduction from each one of you, but I'll definitely like to know your profiles. I like to know my audience, my presentation audience. Maybe a show of hands. I'll have 5 questions. I can quickly get a pulse for things. How many of you have 0 years of work experience? Internship counts. 0 years of work experience. Show of hands. Okay, it's pretty much the entire class. Okay, campus hires. Okay, how many of you have between 1 and 3 years work experience, internship included? 1 and 3. So you've had a manager, you went through an appraisal cycle, you know how projects work. I should know because you guys are on time. Okay, anybody more than 3 years of experience? Wonderful. Okay, good. You guys will appreciate. Welcome back, sir. I remember you from last year. I'm sure you'll appreciate what it is. So, Jibin and I were having an interesting conversation, right? What is the right time for people to come to this seminar, right? And most of you work experience guy will say on time or plus 10 minutes late, right? That's how you'd say it, right? That's how corporate works. And Jibin was trying to convince me, you know what, we have a flexible work ethics here, as in attendance logic here. So I was telling Jibin, don't do that. Don't spoil your students. Get them to come to meetings on time. It's for your own good. Otherwise, whenever you join a company, the manager will give it to you and make sure you come on time. Okay. Anyway, now I know your work experience profile. May I know which domains, especially the students are specializing in? Computer science majors in undergrad. Okay. Circuit branches, triple ECE. Okay. Any other non-engineering here? Oh, okay. Those are the key guys. What is your background, ma'am? Okay. Data science. We are putting it under computer science. Okay. Data science would be computer science for us. Okay. Anybody else? Commerce. Interesting. Okay. What do you expect to learn from GenAI? Generating balance sheets. Excellent. We have a use case on using balance sheets with GenAI. It's an excellent thing. You should learn that. Cross pollination is important. Okay. Any other non-engineering data science people here? There was some show of hands here. Yeah. Finance. What do you expect? How do you expect to use GenAI? Okay. You're open on what to do. Okay. We'll give you some demos on how that is. Any other domains? Doctors, lawyers. Last year we had some lawyers, doctors. Civil. Okay. Understand. Okay, we have. I can't go too much into the use cases. It's exhaustive. I can talk for an entire day on the various use cases we are seeing in the market. May not work out, but we'll see how this is. What I would do is. Okay, so that's about that. And I also have Tyaga with me. He's a GenAI expert from our company. So we're building multiple solutions. I'll go into the details on the various solutions that we are doing. So that's on the introduction. And which companies do the people here work for? Any names? Saxsoft. Okay. What do you expect from this session? Java. Okay. Domain. Okay. Anybody with work experience? Yeah. Go ahead. What do you do there? IT solutions. Okay. One more. Yeah, yes, sir. KLA 10 core, the hardware manufacturing. Okay. What do you expect? Okay. So you look at images and see if the chips are designed correctly. Okay. I used to work for analog devices in the US. You must have heard of analog devices, right? Okay. Yeah. Anybody else? TCS. Okay. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Applied material. How do you plan to use GenAI? Okay, more in the IT technology space. Guides to your application as in computer vision. So most likely you'll be looking at some of the chip and identifying which one has defects in it, right? Okay, on the products you're making. This has got an excellent application. Those things will work. I've seen that. Okay. Any? What does your startup solve? Which problem? Okay, thank you. Anybody else working who have why any reason you wanted to attend? What do you expect from this session rather? Anybody with work experience? Anybody else? Okay, wonderful. I think I know. I think I have an idea of your profile, and I'm glad to see you guys here. So let me quickly go into the next thing. So I've completed my team introduction. I'll quickly introduce LatentVIew to you. So I'll give Tyaga and me will give you some of the overview and use cases. I've given about 15 minutes for each of the section. It won't do justice. What I had in mind, Jibin, will this work? Should I take 1 or 2 questions right after every demo? And then towards the end, I'll open it to the floor. Would that work? Okay. So after every demo, allow you guys to ask 1 or 2 questions if you have any. I want it to be an open, freewheeling conversation. Okay, anything is okay. Don't feel shy. I mean, your generation doesn't feel shy, which is a good thing. Just blast it out. Why do I need GenAI? Anything controversial, totally support it. So we'll allow you 2 questions after these. And then after that, it'll be open, right? My team is here. We have about an 8-member, 6-member, yeah, including me, it's about 7 members here. So they are here. They come from Microsoft, HP, what other companies, Zillow, some of the top US brands. They work there in analytics, data science as such, right? You can talk to them, understand. Yeah, so that's the agenda. Any questions on the agenda? Anything else you want me to cover? This is the time for you guys to don't be, especially campus hires, don't, people with less experience, don't feel shy. You can raise your hand, say, Ganesh, I like to cover A, B, and C. We can accommodate that. Anything else? Which thing? We won't go into that. I'll just show you broadly how you can look into a statement. Maybe you can show that statement analysis, how you can ask questions. Right, you have a 10,000 page, sorry, not 10,000, usually it's a 1,000-page document sometimes. How this can get you the answers, relevant answers, not just a search in a document and find it, but more relevant answers. If you say, what are my risks to my contracts, it'll find that out for you. We can show you a demo on that. Yeah, we can help you there. Anything else you're expecting? Yeah, please. Mechatronics, it's a huge area. My personal favorite. Is there a chalk or something I can write it down now? This is a chalk. Any other topics you like to go ahead? You need some resources for to learn GenAI. Okay. There are enough courses. I would recommend doing a project, a hands-on project, and getting it reviewed by somebody with experience. That'll work. Any other topics you'd like me to cover? Yes, sir. Yeah. So we will be covering that in Insights IQ. That's completely offline. It won't go online. As in, it'll be in a computer, of course. It won't go into cloud. A lot of our clients, like a Verizon or AT&T, don't want to go into cloud. They have their own servers like Dell, right? So they want to have their own custom LLM stacks. So NVIDIA has developed microservices that can be used to build it. Right? It'll be covered in the Insights IQ piece. So you can ask a question there. Yeah, go ahead. Music and video editing, not in this. There is a demo in Copilot where we do picture editing, where it will come and generate pictures based on customer feedback. It's a great area. I think Copilot launched an app, Suno, right? Recently. Have you guys used it? It's called Suno. It's a Copilot app. You give the lyrics, it will generate the music for you. You can choose parameters, whether it needs to be an aggressive rock or a melodious Sufi type music. You can choose what you want. It will generate the music for you. It was launched just 2 weeks back. Yeah, you can try that. We won't be covering that, but that's the app, Copilot Suno. I'm glad Microsoft is putting Indian names finally. Maybe your generation will see more Indian names there. We are bloody building that whole company and we can't even get our culture recognized. Anyway, what else? Thank you. Welcome. Okay, I've taken more time than required. I had only 10-15 minutes. I'm eating into my team's demo time. I have to introduce my company. So somebody said nice t-shirt, completely from the company. So 3 dimensions. One, we are about $1 billion in valuation, about 8,000, 9,000 crores. So financially stable. One. Two, great place to work for women employees as well as for various team members. It's got that recognition. Three, we get a 90% repeat business. That all the people from the IT industry would know what that means, right? A lot of our customers like working with us. We have been working with Microsoft for 12 years now. New clients, we get introduction. We've been working with Google for 9 years. We're a regular Indian IT services company, like a TCS or an Infosys, nothing fancy, right? Just a regular Indian company. But since we work with them, we get access to some of the best solutions in the world. Sitting right here in Chennai, I'm able to know what's going on in Copilot. What is the chief marketing officer? So my team presented Copilot to a chief marketing officer of Microsoft 2 days back. Right, NVIDIA's it'll come in LinkedIn next in a couple of days. NVIDIA CEO is going to announce top 10 companies, and one of it is us who have built microservices for them. Right, so we get that recognition, but we are a regular IT company. The reason why I'm insisting on this is a lot of you campus hires are probably worried about jobs after your graduation. How many of you have heard of LatentVIew before you came to this meeting? Just two. Okay. Now the rest of you know. Do pass it to us. We are Chennai based, but we have offices across India. 70% of the workforce is across India. Only a small portion is here, but a lot of them come down to Chennai to work here and then they fly back. It's more of a hybrid environment. So that's what it is. And we have rolled out offers and we recognize all the offers we have given to campus hires. We have onboarded all of them. Right, we will bring everybody in. That's a culture we have. It'll cost us a couple of crores per month extra, but that's okay. Our culture is we have given a word to our employees. We will hold on to it, right? And so if your performance is good, you shouldn't be worried. Do consider applying to LatentVIew. Do tell your friends to apply to LatentVIew. If there are openings, love to have you in my team. You will be mentored by some of these guys. Of course, you have to prove yourself for the first 6 months and all that good stuff. You will be allowed. Okay, so that is on the company. So we focus on these 5 what you call verticals. Some of the laterals will know. So we focus on industrial clients like Applied Materials, Scale8 and Core. We work with some of the large names, Intel, AMDs, right? So we help them with their GenAI solutions. They want somebody to come in and help them build the solutions. They invite us. So we build it for them. We work with, I mainly come from the technology, the digital clients, right? Like I said, Microsoft, Google, Apple, HP, Facebook, Amazon. So I mainly focus on that area. We focus on all of them, right? We focus on R&D work. We focus on supply chain work. We focus on customer analytics, marketing analytics. And we do all 4. We only do analytics, right? We don't do ERP implementation. We don't do quality. We only do analytics and everything around analytics. So data engineering, BI, consulting, and data science. Yeah, I'll go to the next slide. Again, just wanted to flash the logos that we work with. I'm not going to go into the details on exactly what we do. So we work with BMW. Somebody was interested in mechatronics, right? This is a 6-year-old project where you get the sensor data from the car and you start modeling it and you start predicting where it will fail. That's the project. We worked with HP. We get data for 30 million laptop devices. Whoever is allowed, you get that message. Can I share your data for diagnostic reasons? You say yes, it'll come here. Then we will analyze it at a high anonymized level. We'll predict which laptop's battery is going to fail. So when you're calling customer support and you say, this is my laptop number, immediately it'll pop up in their screens and it'll tell, this person's battery is having issues. Right? Should it be replaced? And it will also recommend the part number. So your first time resolution will move from 65%. First time you call issues resolved was 65%. Now it's close to 90%. They know exactly what your problem is and they want to solve it. So that is both on the mechatronics. I've answered your use case here. I don't have any banks here, but I'll show you a demo on how we use it for accounts. Okay. So I'll gradually move. I'll invite Tyaga over for this section. Quickly cover the 6 areas that we are broadly seeing. Somebody said civil engineering. Have you heard of Procore? Yeah, so we're working with them. They are interested in creating, maybe Tyaga, you can share a little bit about their use case. You want to come over? You can use the mic. Procore is a well-known civil engineering firm. People in that sector would know about them quite a bit. Yeah. I'm talking about 3D rendering.
Okay. Yeah. So nice meeting you guys. Good morning. So as Ganesh was pointing out, right? So we see use cases in all these modalities across different clients of ours. Obviously, we see like 80% of our enterprise use cases around text and code. Okay, so one of the applications that you will be seeing, the use cases that we will be showing you is internal knowledge repository. Basically, it helps you to kind of extract information from your company resources and make sense of it and gain insights out of it. So you have SaaS products like something like Glean, and you have the Microsoft Copilot. It is very similar to this. Okay, so it uses an approach called as retrieval augmented generation. So models have a fixed training data. Okay, so you can't retrain a model so easily. Okay, so it costs a lot of money to add new data to the neural network. So we use an approach called retrieval augmented generation, which is an industry-wide practice of providing data to the model during inference and making the model kind of make use of that data to gain inputs. So on the tech side, we see like content generation for marketing campaigns, gaining insights or summarizing legal and contractual documents. So these are some of the types of work that most of the knowledge force that today works on. So you go to any company, there'll be hundreds of people doing legal document validation, creation of legal documents. There'll be hundreds of people doing supply chain management. So this technology, generative AI as such, has that capacity to kind of revolutionize this entire field. So I mean, that's the reason you see that's all the hype. Okay, if some of you are kind of confused on why do we see such kind of hype, it is because of the broad applicability of this technology across field. Okay, and obviously on the second most interesting and most widely expected thing is about coding. Okay, the second modality that we'll talk about is coding. So you find products like GitHub Copilot and others, right? So these are basically programming assistants. Okay, obviously people are saying that it's going to replace programming as such. Okay, you might have seen Jensen mention that you don't need to learn programming. Okay, because programming is going to be taken care by the computers. Our opinion is slightly different based on being an active users of this technology. I think it's very far time. So if some of you are thinking like, should I learn coding? Absolutely, you should learn coding. In fact, now the standard is so high, you should be able to validate whatever code that Copilot is generating. Okay, because you become from a student to a teacher. Okay, because it is going to make very confidently make some errors. Okay, in the programming, and it is up to you to kind of validate it. Okay, at some point in time in the future, maybe there will not be a need for programmers, but as of now, there is a need for high quality programmers. Okay, so the need and the quality and the standards for programming is actually going to go up. Okay, so you can't survive in the industry being a mediocre programmer. Okay, so you have to have things other than programming knowledge like syntax, basically things like structured thinking. How do I break a problem into modules and then try to solve each of these modules? Okay, so coding is something that we see a lot of enterprises are interested in. So there are two users to code. Okay, one is basically your programmer who is going to know how to code, who is going to modify code and then execute it. And there is another set of people who are not so good with coding. Okay, so these people expect code which is 100% accurate. Okay, that's where focused solutions like Insights IQ will come into play. Okay, so we build in a lot of guardrails around this technology so as to avoid incorrect code. Whereas something like a GitHub Copilot, has a very different goal and a different user base. Okay, so GitHub Copilot is basically for people who know programming. So in fact, if the system creates incorrect code, it is expected from the end user to make corrections. Okay, and there is another set of users who use the coding modality, is basically people who are completely new to coding as such. So for them, we have to design a product which is slightly much different. Okay, it need not do very complex things. Okay, it need to do very simple things. Very you can basically premeditate or kind of list down all their needs, maybe in 100 pages of document, and then kind of use that to solve the problems. Okay, and so other use cases, the other big use case that you're seeing is the image part, where we can use image to do identifying defects in products and things like that, and also add description and talk about it. So you might have heard about GPT-4o, and so these are the vision models which are capable of converting an image into insights. Okay, so the third most widely seen use case is the image. Audio, video, and 3D are technologies which are still nascent. Okay, so in fact, text and code, generative AI is already on par with an average human. Okay, whereas with respect to audio and video and 3D, they are still subpar with compared with humans. Okay, so on the audio part, you might have heard about it, right? So you can prompt for a lyric or a music. Okay, things like Sono. And the video part, you might have heard about OpenAI Sora. Okay, the image creation part. These are obviously more focused on the entertainment and also on the manufacturing sectors. Okay, many of these will have implications in these industries. And the last part is about 3D rendering. Okay, so as Ganesh pointed out, we are working with Procore to use some of the generative AI technologies to rapidly create 3D 3D images of buildings. Okay, so just to speed up the creation process, right? It's not that this is going to be the final product, but this kind of helps the teams at Procore to do some of these brainstorming activities faster. Okay, so we also work with another large CPG client like Unilever, where we are using the image models to kind of design the packaging material for cosmetics. Okay, so cosmetics has a lot of pull value based on the packaging. Okay, it is a instant purchase product. Okay, so the better the packaging is, it's more receptive for the end user to buy. So we use image models to create draft versions of the packaging material based on the description of the product. So if it is an herbal product with green tea or something like that, when you tell that to the model try to assimilate that textual meaning to an image. It might be in light green color. Okay, it might have that design of a leaf. Okay, so we will never be able to know like how creative the models are. Okay, so it's only a matter of the prompting that we need to do to get best value out of it. Okay, so for all these places, there are two aspects, right? One is basically the enterprise version where these modalities are kind of integrated to business processes. Okay, and then there is the use of personal use. Okay, so you can go to ChatGPT and use it for a creativity purpose, right? So in that case, prompting is super important. Even for enterprises, prompting is super important. Wherever I kind of have this session, right, I kind of compare prompting to cycling. Okay, there's no way to learn cycling from reading in the slides. Okay, the only way to learn cycling is by doing cycling. Okay, so it applies to prompting as well. So to be more efficient in the future and more productive, I think everybody should kind of have at least a 30-minute session daily with some of these tools. Okay, so because tomorrow the differentiation between two highly qualified individuals is who is able to use some of these technologies more in a more efficient and productive manner. So nice talking to you guys. Any questions now? Yeah, so there are multiple ways to get great value out of some of these technology, right? The first one is the prompting, okay. Second one is basically in context learning, or what you called as RAG, okay. And the last one is fine tuning, okay. So the first one is the easiest, most simplest form, okay. So when you prompt, so all these models have an inherent US bias, okay. So because US and the European markets are where most of the digital content is created, okay. So obviously all these models have a kind of um, bias towards the US market. So so it might be that they may not be good in understanding Indian laws or things like that. So the first step, the easiest one, is to basically say that I am doing this for the Indian markets. Now only answer using things like the Indian Penal Code or the Indian tenant law, or whatever, whichever particular framework that you are talking about, right? India has like different pieces of legislations for different types of things, right? So you basically mention the legal framework that you are referring to, and then call out it, okay. This might give you good results, okay. When this fails, the next thing is to basically use a RAG approach, download the entire Indian penal code and the other laws, right? You will find it in things like some of these public websites, right? They have all these case information and all. You can download the legislator and kind of provide the relevant content during call, okay. So we call this as retrieval part of it, okay. You can use tools like Olama, okay. So they offer something like a desktop version. You can, it's a free to use as of now, okay. At some point of time it's going to be priced, okay, but as of now it's free to use. You can basically provide all your documents there, and Olama will kind of read whatever is necessary to answer that question, and this will get you better results. And the final and the most difficult part is to basically take all these documents and then fine tune some of these models to get them even more better results, okay. Obviously in fine tuning you need access to hardware, okay. You need a lot of handcrafted expert answers, okay. So without which you will not be able to improve, okay. In the legal sector, it's not only the laws, right? Even case results are taken as precedents for some of these judgments, okay. So you can get that information also from some of the public sources and kind of use it. So this is how I will go about doing this. Obviously there will be a lot of iterations, right? You'll do prompt engineering, you'll do fine tuning, you'll again go back and do some prompt engineering. So it's like a cycle that you have to continuously iterate to get better results. Yeah. Thanks. So, yeah, obviously there are best practices, right? You will find a lot of white papers which talk about best practices. It's more of a art rather than a science as of now, okay? So, as I was comparing, right? So, prompting is like cycling, okay? There's no way you can learn cycling by going to a class, okay? The only way you can do is by prompting, okay? And I see many people, what they do is that they try 2 or 3 times, they fail, okay, and they say, no, this does not work. It's all hype, okay. So that is where you have to have your curiosity on, okay, and look out for all the people in Twitter and LinkedIn, okay, who share about these techniques that they are using, okay. It's more of a community-based learning, okay. Obviously, there are other tools like Prompt Bench and other tools which have some of the prompt templates you can leverage too, okay. It's basically trying to push yourself and do a project, okay. So what you can try, right? So if you're from the programming background, let's say you are good in Python, okay, you can try to program something in Java. Because you know the programming basics, you should be able to use something like ChatGPT to convert that to Java. Okay. So the end goal is to not to learn Java or do the program. The end goal is to basically push yourself to improve your prompt engineering skills. Okay. So only when you do such projects like as Ganesh was pointing out, right? Only when you kind of you push the tool to use some projects, you'll be able to learn something new. Thanks. Any other questions?
Thanks. 2 questions is what we had decided on. I mean, since Tyaga said any more questions, one final question for Tyaga. I encourage all of you to stay back. He'll be here after the session. Have your follow-up conversation with him. Great thing on legal use cases, US versus India. That's the opportunity you guys are going to have. That's a 10-year project right there, and it's a $1 billion opportunity. Huge amount of data is set up there. Going back, how many of you know cycling here? Okay. How many of you know prompt engineering here? Okay. So cycling and prompt engineering are exactly the same. There's only so much we can share here. It's like cycling, right? How much ever theory we show on how you balance, it's not going to work out. Okay. From a hygiene check perspective, I'd like to thank 95% of you here are not checking your phones. I would request you to keep it away. Yeah, 95%. I'd like to thank the 95% who are not checking your phones. Thank you very much. So Tyaga, great session on that. So these are the use cases, right? Focus areas, as in there are 4 major stacks, right? You have the Azure stack, right? Azure supports Copilot. That's the main stack. Second one is NVIDIA stack. We'll cover that, custom GenAI stack. Google stack. We're not covering that today, but they have their own Gemini stack as well. And then you have the open source stack, right? NVIDIA open source will roughly fit into the same pilot, but there are a lot of other tools that is not done by NVIDIA. So when you look at it, these are the 6 different components, right? Again, will something happen in 6 months? No. Will something happen in 10 years? Yes. These are one of those generational shift things, right? I've seen it. When internet came, that old, right? Oh, there is something called internet. Oh, there is something called a website. Oh, there is something called email, right? Those are generational shift. When my grandma used to write a letter, she actually took a white paper and wrote it. How many of you have seen a letter here? Inland letter? Oh, you guys have. Okay, I'm not talking about somebody handwritten letter. Somebody sat down and wrote a letter for you. Yeah, that tells your age, right? So it was like that. That was the model, right? So this GenAI thing is generational shift like that. You will see it in your lifetimes. It's not a thing, but there's going to be a huge blow up. There'll be a huge correction and all that. So you will have to learn those 6 things. We will give you a code walkthrough. We might take a little extra time today after this. Maybe we might not fill up, but we will go through a code walkthrough and we'll cover most of this components, right? At least the majority of it. Yeah, and we will cover these 3 solutions. I think we're covering these 3 solutions. So I'll probably invite the first solution team to come over. Laser. Setu. Oh, you're coming up. Ranga. I'll stop sharing my screen. You guys can share your screen and show the demos. You can keep your laptop here if you want.
Yeah, thanks for joining in. So as he sets up the machine and shares his screen, just wanted to give an overview about this particular solution, right? So as Tyaga was mentioning, there are various modalities, right? Maybe the slides. No. Yeah. So one more. Yeah. So one of the top use cases when someone wants to implement GenAI is the first use case, right? And that is basically enterprise search engines, basically, right? So this is a solution that we have built, which is basically acting like a internal search engine for the company, right? So most of you would have used, let's say, OneDrive, Google Drive, things like that, right? And most of you will resonate that searching documents in these platforms are really difficult, right? So you'll have to exactly mention the file name. You'll have to put multiple filters to sort the date, everything, right? So searching was previously only based on keywords. If you want to search a file, you'll have to put the file name in the search bar to get that file, right? So especially in big companies, organizations, there are, thousands of documents, right? So searching them using file names is, extremely inefficient. So this solution is basically a search engine. We have kind of got all the documents which we have created in the past, and then we have insourced that to the tool, basically the GenAI tool, and you can basically talk with the tool in natural language, right? It is not just a retrieval tool, right? You can of course use it to retrieve documents, but you can also ask questions like, what is this file about? Maybe give a gist of it in 100 words, right? Which is something which the current search tools doesn't provide, right? You cannot go to a Google Drive and ask it to summarize a particular file, right? So with the power of GenAI, we were able to do it, and we will quickly show a demo of it. So this is currently being used by our company, our own company, and we have also started implementing this solution to a couple of clients there. But hundreds of people every day come to the tool. They might have different questions. Okay, how to handle a particular project, right? Get clarity on a particular technology, right? So you can do whatever you want. The response is not from the GenAI itself, right? The response is going to come from the documents which we ourselves prepared, right? So that is a key component of this, right? I have just mentioned the challenges here, right? So traditional search methods are ineffective, and when there are multiple data sources, let's say you have 1,000 documents in Google Drive and 1,000 documents in OneDrive, right? One is from Google, one is from Microsoft. Is there any search engine in the world which can connect to both? No, right? So that is the power of this solution. Wherever the data is, it can be in websites, it can be in Google Drives, it can be in any platform. We have connected all that, and we are also making sure that it is not hallucinating, right? People who have started with GenAI, the first thing you hear is called prompt engineering. The second thing you will hear is something called hallucination, right? Hallucinations are basically the GenAI model gives its own opinion, right? In some use cases, it's fine, right? You want the GenAI model to use its pre-trained knowledge and give opinions or give information. But in the enterprise use case, right, if you're going to use it for a particular use case, you want the response should be based on the documents, right? Based on the actual data, right? So that is also something we have encountered. So yeah, we will go to the demo directly. It will make things clear. Sure. So this is how the tool looks. This is only for internal employees. So we have ensure that it goes through multiple security layers. This is something everybody building applications for your own company will go through, right? Because people are very wary of the fact that there is a model in place, AI model in place, and data security is the topmost concern. So now you can see, right? I am asking it to write a mail to a prospect, right? And I have also given a particular subject for it to write a mail, right? So it is generating the answer, and you can see once it is generated, you have the complete mail. I basically asked the tool to give write a mail to a prospect explaining our experience in a particular domain, right? So it has written a mail, and one more thing what it is doing is it is giving citations, right? This is the most important aspect of building GenAI applications, because nobody is going to believe the response naturally, right? So we are all wary of the fact that it might hallucinate, right? So we have also provided an option for it to give the citation. So we exactly know from which document it is generating this particular content, right? So that is something to note. So this is how people use it. We cannot show multiple questions here because all this is client data, so we don't want it to be recorded. So we have shown a very basic use case. But what we can do is, there is also an option called connect to your own data. Let's say you have a 1,000-page PDF, right? You have multiple questions to be answered. Before GenAI, what we used to do is, we used to take turns, split 100 pages to each one, read it through, answer the questions, right? But now that these models are so accurate and good in understanding text, we can upload data, how much ever big it is, 100 pages, 1,000 pages, then ask questions on it, right? So that is one. This tool also has capability to, read an image, right? This is a very powerful use case, right? You point it to any image for that matter, ask it to explain it, right? So if you can show the image first, Ranga. Yeah. So previous to before GenAI getting this powerful, there is something called OCRs, right? Optical character recognition. You read characters from an image. That was the gold standard for image recognition and stuff like that. But now you see a complex framework here, right? This is some AWS framework. Now I have uploaded this particular image and asked it to explain it. It is able to go into each and every block of it. It is able to understand, okay, all this within the green box is connected, right? It is a sub component and it is able to explain accordingly, right? So if you can show the answer there.
So this is an AWS typical analytics layer architecture, right? Some of you see it as experience architecture. So we're just throwing it in there and getting it to explain.
Right. So all this is coming under the tenet of knowledge management, retrieval, summarization, right? So I'm sure that even ChatGPT is something like this, right? But only thing is, ChatGPT is general. You cannot use it for any of your organizational purposes, right? You cannot, because it doesn't have the knowledge about the your own company or your own documents. This has that particular knowledge embedded, right? So this is one feature. So we'll go feature by feature. And then maybe you can upload some files and show, right? Suppose you have a file, right? That is what he is going to show now. Upload. Yeah. So
let's say if eBay is running a major program, or let's say Amazon is doing, or Flipkart is doing one of their big Diwali sales, right? So usually they're doing a new program, same day service or something, they're launching it. They'll get about 20,000 people giving them feedback. You cannot read 20,000 feedback and summarize it, human, right? I mean, you can't even cross 500. That's what we have seen. So something like this is actually required. People were asking me, do we need AI? I'm like, it's gone to an extent where without AI, we cannot live. It's more like a coexistent kind of a situation now. The data has become so huge in certain scenarios. Without AI, we cannot mine it. So out here, what he's showing is what is the feedback from a conference. Stellantis, have you heard of Stellantis? It's like Ford. They own, or it's like Maruti or Hyundai, one of the largest car manufacturers in Europe, one of the largest in the world, in fact. Right? They have some like Citroen. Citroen is a brand you're probably
Citroen,
familiar.
Jeep is there. Right?
Jeep is there, right? They own that brand. That's their name, the official name, Stellantis. So if customers are giving you feedback, you get like 1,000 feedback. You're not going to sit down and read 1,000 feedback. That there goes your entire next 2-3 days, right? So you will be using GenAI to understand what is the summary, what are the positives and what are the negatives from that feedback. So this is another use case. So this is more on the customer facing. The first two was more on the knowledge sharing repository. I'm looking for a nice architecture diagram, Amazon architecture diagram. I wanted to explain, then it'll pop up. So this is a repository. We have thousands of files from LatentVIew in the backend. So it's using that repository to give you the answer. Same thing in Procore. You have like the actual use case where they had 20,000 engineering drawings. There is no way, and one guy in Europe, one guy in India are actually drawing the exact same thing, right? How hard would it be for a bathroom door, right? They're doing the exact same thing, right? The knowledge sharing will be enabled by this in a drawing perspective or in a code generation perspective.
Exactly, right? So
he's asking for what are the negative reviews about our cars or about our cars from this particular event, right? You saw that file, it was about 20-30 pages, right? You cannot do this. So what does GenAI do? People say, oh, will my job be gone? Some portion of your job was looking through just that customer review file and reading it for 2 days and summarizing it. And if that was your job, then it's probably gone. But if your job was to take that feedback and work with multiple teams and action on it and make the product better, GenAI can't do all that, right? Collaboration, communicating, making things better, right? So there is a part where you have to do grunt work, where you sit down and code for like 9 hours a day. And there is another part where you actually sit down and see whether the product is helping the customer, right? There are two parts in every job, right? If you're in a services company, you have to go through all the feedback, then go ahead, redesign the program, talk to the customer, right? There are two components always. So the grunt work, AI will come in and help you. How bad is this grunt work? For example, we worked on a project for Google. The person's job was just to see balance entry, right? There was an entry, you made a Google Pay entry, and was that actually matching with your account? They had automatic jobs that will do it. 85% was done. Remaining 15%, it couldn't match. The person's job was actually to match that, sitting in Philippines. So using this technology, those type of highly manual, highly intensive work in the digital world will go away. That's the point we are making here. Because always, if you're on the customer facing, improving your product, improving your services, making revenue, GenAI can't do all of that. But if it's grunt work, going through thousands of customer reviews, going through thousands of documents, it's going to make it easier. Like creatives, Yaga was talking about it. How long do you think it takes Unilever to create a packaging design? Any guesses? 6 to 8 weeks. I'm launching a biscuit packet, green color with this font, 6 to 8 weeks. I'm like, why? We should be doing it in at least the first prototype should be done in 3 days, right? Now it is possible thanks to GenAI. Do you understand how? So it's all about productivity improvement. Hopefully you get the message, right? Productivity. What took 5 days in Google finally took us 15 minutes. And the ability to collect money for Google increased, like, I can't give you the exact number, but very, very high, right? From 85%, they moved to 99%. The ability to recognize that money that was deposited in their bank, right? So previously they had like a 15-member team looking at it for 5 days, matching those entries. Now with these tools and technology, they're able to do it in 5 days, 5 minutes. Rest of the time, they're looking at how they can improve. So hopefully you get the point on the various use cases we are sharing.
Yeah. So this is all on text, right? All the backend data is documents, PDF, words, and everything. You might also ask, right? Can it read Excel files, right? So any company for that matter, they will have 50% of all this text, and maybe 50% is all Excel files, databases, and everything. So we have also worked on a case where we are reading Excel files and giving the output, right? It might have millions of rows, for example. You want to get an average revenue from a particular customer, right? For this particular filter, right? Usually what we do, either Excels are too small for holding all this data. It will be in a database. You will have to write queries, right? Or there must be any dashboards which will give you this data. With the power of GenAI, you can connect to the data source, ask questions in natural language, right? If you go to the question there, what we are asking is, what is the average revenue for each segment, right? Segment is basically customer groups, right? And I am also specifically saying that I need it in a live chat, right? So this is a very powerful use case, right? You don't have to write codes to get data. You don't have to open a dashboard to get whatever you want. Again, dashboards are, congested with lot of visuals. First of all, a user might take time to understand where to go and search for this data, right? Let's say there are 10 visuals. One might be for revenue, one might be for user count, things like that. Searching it is very difficult. Here you can see here, we are connecting to the database. GenAI is writing the query for you. This is the SQL query. It is exactly putting the filters what you requested for. You wanted revenue for segments, so it is saying group by segments. It is getting the data. That is the first part. If you want raw data, it will give you. But if you want a chart, it will also plot the chart for you, right? So that you just have to take a screenshot and send it to someone. Or if you are preparing a fancy deck, right? Take a screenshot, put it there, your job is done, right? So this is also a very powerful use case. People are started using this to change the way they deal with data, right? Accessing data is no more manual. It is all in one tool. They just have to open this tool and keep it whenever they start the work. And any questions they have, they don't have to go to anyone else, right? You want to clarification about a particular project, you search here. You want data, you don't have to go to the developers or the data professionals to get the data. You do it yourself, right? So you just need one tool, right? This is basically more like a companion to you, right? You get all the data you want in the way you want, whenever you want, right? So that is the overall motto of this particular application. Yeah, you get bar charts, whatnot, right? You can basically ask it to do anything. Again, all this is not done by default. You ask the same question to ChatGPT, probably it will not give you the answer what you are seeing here. All this is done using prompt engineering, crafting the RAG approach, things like that. And then we were able to achieve all this, right? So, yeah. Any other?
So the use case here is code generation.
Yeah.
Some of the software programmers are like, what type of a code can be generated? Java code can be generated. Right? Tyaga mentioned, but you have to be an extremely strong Java programmer to understand the mistakes Copilot is making, because it's run out of GitHub. GitHub has millions of lines of code. It's reading from it. So what a lot of our customer companies are doing is again, in a project, I mean, most of the software guys will probably know, there's a requirements gathering session, there is a development session, there's a testing session, then you go live, then you go support, right? These are like broad 5 categories. The development piece becomes more productive for you. Requirements gathering, GenAI is not going to automatically gather requirements. That you will still have to do it. You will still have to define the use cases. You will still have to resolve a lot of things to make sure the application is live. You will still have to make sure the support is going on. There will be a DevOps team that will be doing your support, right? But the development cycle will become faster, right? And rework will come down. That's a big problem people see, right? They'll do something, then something goes wrong. Again, it comes back. Again, you check it in, then comes back, right? As you go into, larger companies, you'll see this, how they work, right? There's a method to the madness in which they go live with an application. So the code part of it will come. Some of the code is like Fortran, COBOL. Nobody writes it anymore, right? You don't even understand what is written, right? It'll take 6 months to even understand what it is, right? It's a waste of time. Those applications are very business critical applications, right? Like a shipping application I worked with was written in 70s, right? The developer is 55. We were like wondering what something happens to him, who's going to maintain this? Nobody knows Fortran anymore. It's a complicated application also. Something like a GenAI, it's not going to solve the problem. It will at least explain 60% of the code. Make your life easier. Those are some of the use cases.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
This is the Python code generation, right? So suppose you are starting out, right? You want to search for a particular problem to solve. Usually what we do is we search it in Google, right? We go to the first Stack Overflow option, whatever the first search result. Then there will be multiple responses. Different people would have given their own code. You look at the upvote of each of the responses. Then you select one, right? All this is a time taking process, right? As I said before, this is one tool where you just need this tool and your own brain to operate on a day-to-day basis, right? You ask code, a very simple example, how to create a correlation plot, right? It will give you the code. Also, if you scroll down, it will give you step-by-step explanation of what that is, right? So that you are not just copy pasting from a tool, right? You also understand what is happening line by line, and then you copy paste, right? It depends on what you want to achieve. If your intention is to only complete that, solve that problem, probably you will copy paste the code. But if you are more learning focused, you can also come down, you can look at line by line, it will say what exactly that line is doing, and it will give you a summary, right? So this has support to most of the popular languages. This is Python, for example, Java, C#, any language for that matter, right? It can help you, and that will ease up some of your learning curve, basically, right? This is not going to do advanced coding for you, right? You cannot create an entire module out of it. Bits and pieces you can use this, and then use these as starter prompts, basically, right? Yeah.
Since we are running behind time, maybe one question, please, if that's okay. One question. Yeah, gentleman there.
So if you scroll up, right,
This is coming from GPT-4. So we're just calling the API call and bringing the answer there. We're just showing it in a web frame for our internal employees.
exactly, right? How will you do that? Let's say you have 1,000 documents, right? How will you do that in ChatGPT? Yeah. This is the same thing.
Hold on. 1,000 company. That's what he's trying to explain.
Yeah. So
There are 1,000 documents. ChatGPT is one API. You ask a question, it will give an answer back. That is what this is doing, right? Whatever you're asking, this is GPT-4. Sometimes people want to run it in 3.5. So step one, we have 1,500 employees. If 1,500 employees call ChatGPT, they'll have to have their own user accounts. GPT-4, what is the price right now? $20. So 1,000 into $20, $20,000. What we have done is we have exposed it through one central portal. So they just log in through our LatentVIew ID and ask the question. So we are only paying $20. What is the value here? $20,000 minus 20 saved here. Does it give you the value there?
Exactly.
Central, number one. Number two, this is trained on 1,500 internal documents. The chat GPT you're approaching is a general YouTube type video. This is a custom video where our models are trained with 1,500. So our employees want to know, okay, correlation plot, but have we done anything for Microsoft? Immediately it will go to the 1,500 documents, get the document and say, here is a correlation plot and here are the projects where we have completed. Does this tell you the difference between those two? Thank you.
One more key point to note is this is not directly calling the OpenAI's API. This model is deployed in Azure. Okay, so whatever data we are exposing to the model is not being used to train the model. Suppose you are using the OpenAI's direct API. Suppose you are exposing some of your confidential data. They will be using that to train their models in the future, and they will record whatever conversations is going on, right? So that is one additional layer of security that we have provided. We have got the OpenAI model, deployed it in our own firewall, and then expose the application to it, right? So nobody in an organizational setting will directly use a OpenAI's API. Maybe for individual developers they will do it, but for this use case, for enterprise use case, right? You will need an application like this where enough security is in place, firewalls are in place, and the guardrails are in place, right? So
now we are exposing it through not a web application, we are exposing it to a Google chat. Enterprise application. So all are just like you're chatting via WhatsApp, you'll have a Google chat within the enterprise, right? So you just go ahead and ask the same question with Google chat. It's like talking to somebody on, you can ask the same question. I'm writing a code, can you help? And change it. It'll go directly to GPT-4, come back and give you the answer. It'll be streamlined. Security wise, it's secure. It's trained on 1,500, 2,000 documents that we have internally. So all those benefits will come. One place for you to get. Great question. Thank you for challenging us.
One additional point to add there, right? On the security side, like what Setu said, there are hackers who will try to jailbreak it, right? They will try to jailbreak the prompt, they will try to add in their own instruction. If you're going to use a common GPT paid account, the risk for that is higher. But when you use our framework that we built, the risk for it is still there, but it is completely reduced. Maybe from 78% it becomes like 10% or 5%.
Just to give you an idea, the whole GPT solution took 3 months to develop. And the data security approval took us 3 months. We had to go through so many, I mean, all the corporate guys are probably, worked with cyber in the past, right? It was like, yeah, we know how it is. And it's important, right? I was giving the guys here a hard time. They wanted to install an app in my laptop. I'm like, are you crazy? Right? And they wanted to send all these files over. I said, no, because it's highly insecure. The data security, you won't believe the level of hacking incidents happening. The level of support that is required. So data security is the number one constraint in implementing any of these solutions. 3 months to develop this entire complex thing, right? And 3 months just for data security, just to give you the effort and time it required. It was frustrating for the team, right? They would just not recruit. They'll go down to the code level, right? So then we had to do it with the Google chatbot. We had to do it with the Teams bot. We had to do it with a web application, with the SSO. We had to work with Google directly, find out why SSO is not working for somebody without a non-LatentVIew ID. They look at, is this laptop belonging? Google's social SSO is so tight, it looks at whether your laptop belongs to LatentVIew. Are you working in Chennai office, LatentVIew office? They look at all those aspects before they allow authentication. For us, we are just clicking on it and going in, right? But the level of security is extremely high. Just wanted to support what Ranga and Setu are saying. Security took us 50% of the effort before deploying the solution to production.
So all the resets gets covered under LLM ops. So you have a separate team who does that. What you're seeing here is after adhering to all those practices, what you see is a very secure and safe solution.
Yeah. Final, thanks for bringing up. It reminds me of the feedback option, right? So this application, you can also give feedback to each of the responses the GenAI model is giving, right? And we are working on a plan to automatically fine tune the model to suit the needs of the end users, right? Which might not be that much possible when we use the ChatGPT's API. You cannot fine tune the model. There are challenges there, right? So here, we are kind of monitoring who likes what kind of responses, things like that. We have given an option for the end users to give feedback, and we use this feedback to retrain the model, even the GenAI model, to suit the need of the customers, right? So that is one point which, when you do a generic implementation using OpenAI's API, that might not be that possible to do, right? So just wanted to highlight that. Yeah.
We're running behind on time, so we'll probably we can go again. Setu and Ranga will be here. Welcome to connect with them offline. After this meeting, have a long conversation. They'll be excited to talk to you about it. Great question. Bring those on. Love it. I'll request the next team to come over. So we'll be covering. So now you saw OpenAI based solution on Azure platform. Now we wanted to show you something completely different. If you're bringing your own server, right? Somebody was asking that question, right? Can I build my own server completely offline? That was the word used, right? So you will have to get a NVIDIA's GPU server. How many of you have been following NVIDIA's stock? Show of hands. Oh my God, you guys should be following that stock. You know what is, have you heard of NVIDIA? Okay. NVIDIA's market cap is greater than the sixth largest economy in the world, Germany. It will cross India is 5 trillion, so it's okay, but they're like 2 or 3 trillion right now. Why is that? Because all the GenAI application in the world right now can only run in NVIDIA's GPUs. They have a monopoly. They can charge whatever they want. And they are charging whatever they want. Right? That's what we found out. Kuch bhi. I'm like, what? I mean, this is not even economically, right? The services, anyway, I won't go into the details because maybe only the, yeah, anyway. But NVIDIA's GPU is what the first thing I'll get. A100 is what we got to build an offline system. The team will cover that. That because it's not available. The chips is not available and it's extremely expensive. I think we got it in Azure, right? Finally. Azure. We were like shopping around GCP, AWS, where will we get it? Physical servers, we can't maintain it. We don't have a data center. So we wanted to, still it's in cloud technically, if you look at it, but it's offline is possible. If you get a physical server, we could do the same thing. Yeah, over to you guys. That's answering that particular question. Yeah, over to you.
So hello everyone, thank you. So far we have seen a solution, Laser, which was mostly an API based solution, and as Ganesh pointed out, so this is InsightsIQ. So InsightsIQ is completely built on as a custom LLM solution which would run on-prem. So right now we are using the NVIDIA's OpenStack technology, which is running using the A100 GPUs, which can also work on the L40S GPUs. And this is supported by the open source LLM models that are available on Hugging Face, or you can download the models onto your system, the on-prem. For this use case, we have used the Azure VM, which has the access to the A100 GPU. So the model are downloaded onto the system, and then you can do the inference on top of that. So the most important value prop for this solution is that you own your own data. The data is not going out of your systems to any API based solution. So the entire data is secure and that is sitting inside your own solution, and then you can customize it based on your requirement. You can fine tune the model, you can train the model, and then you can also get the required output. So InsightsIQ is focused more on the code generation part. So when I say code generation, it is focused on giving you SQL queries based on very simple natural language questions that any business user will find it comfortable asking. So the one of the major challenge why we build this solution is it's very difficult when you have huge amount of data, like for huge technology people where there's lots of telemetry data, what Ganesh was talking with HP, or there is lots of other marketing data that the users have. So for a manually for an analyst to sit on the data, to analyze the entire data based on a user question and to come up with an output, it might take at times many days or weeks together. But with this solution, it can analyze the entire data, come up with the SQL queries, generate the data, and then give you also the insights for that. So as I mentioned, the Q, so this is built on NVIDIA's technology stack. We are using NVIDIA's TensorRT inference engine along with some open source models available on Hugging Face. We can go to the next slide. So we get the real-time insights. As I mentioned, a user can ask a natural language question and you get immediately the SQL output. Then the most important thing is you own your own data. The data is private, is secure, and is inside your system. And you also have an enhanced user experience because the user needn't go back and forth, understand the data, revalidate, and come back and understand. And we have an out of box accuracy of around 90% when it comes to generating the SQL queries based on the questions. So here we have tried to constrain the output and made, and also on a given on a particular use case is only generating the responses, and it's mostly functional on the structural data. So this use case is based only for the structured data right now, where it will generate the query based on the data that we give in the as the input. So now I think we can jump into the demo.
Thank you. While Debabhuti quickly jumps into the demo, I just want to cover two more points here. Like the first one being, this solution is built upon NVIDIA stack. And you know, NVIDIA offers their hardware solutions across the globe. Along with that, they also have their own software solutions, which will help us to build the entire package solution with their hardware solutions. That is, they have their entire solutions called Nemo framework, which will help us to set up this entire LLM or GenAI kind of thing. And we have the microservices of NVIDIA, such as inference microservice, evaluation microservice. We have fine-tuning, one microservice for fine-tuning the models. Likewise, we have n number of microservices that NVIDIA has to make sure that people will be able to make use of their hardware at the best. So that's how NVIDIA is building their entire ecosystem under them. And along with the NVIDIA, in parallel, we also have some sort of open source stack, like we have AutoTrain for fine tuning, we have VLLM, we have TGI, all these things were there to do inferencing and all. So these are the two parallel things that we are working across. So I think Debabhuti you are able to see the screen, I think. So we'll ask a simple question, something like analyze the trend of sales across the different weekdays. This particular use case is sitting on top of a marketing data. For example, many of you might be tech enthusiasts here. So what's a month in which most of the sales of Apple happen? Correct. So what about Samsung? Yeah, they have two launch periods. One for one version of the mobiles and the other for other version of the mobiles. So likewise, it's that particular September month is very important for Apple, right? So they need to keenly analyze the things, how the things are going across, how their marketing campaigns are working, whether they're working perfectly or not. Is there any issues going on? Is the sales going high? Is the sales going down? How the trends are there? Likewise, that is where this application comes in. If you see the question.
Let me add on. So how much do you think Samsung spends on one of the January campaigns, or Apple spends on their September campaign? Amount of money, any guesses? $1 billion. Thousands of crores. Yeah, thousands of crores they spend. So let's say they're doing a campaign, they get the impressions. You click on it, let's say they're launching a new model, there's a buzz created. Everything is recorded into the database, right? So you do something on Monday, by Friday you get all the data. But you know, it takes them a month before they analyze that data. You understand, right? It takes them a month, literally, right? We're working with Samsung North America. They were telling it takes them a month before they can analyze the data and understand if my campaign, how many people clicked on it. If what we see is when they launch a campaign, they launch about 50 different campaigns, 50 different creators. Right? So nobody knows, right? That's like 50 different things. It takes a month. They're investing $1 billion, $1 billion blown off, right? And they don't know what's going on. It's like closing your eyes and driving for a month. And then you open up, oh, okay, these 5 campaigns were a horrible campaigns. Why didn't we correct it? Oh, this 10 worked out really well. Okay, next year I'm making it, right? That's how it is, right? So what it does is this particular solution, what it will do is it will allow the business guys to directly find out, right? You don't need a dashboard or anything. Directly ask them, hey, how's my campaign going? What are the different segments that are actually clicking on my campaigns and it's engaging with my campaigns? I was thinking high school graduates will buy a phone, right? Is that segment even responding to my campaigns? Okay, they're not responding. First week I get the data, second week I course correct. And is it responding now? Third week, yes, they are responding. Let's give additional discount to that segment. So you read the market and you course correct, right? So that's data driven. Previously, it was all gut feel, right? If you're doing a Diwali sales, you have certain segments that you think will buy, right? Rural segment in India, rural household with 2 lakhs per year segment will buy this phone, right? If you have something like that, is that segment responding? So these solutions will make it possible for them. It will be a custom. on-prem, offline, if you can call that, and secure. Right? Samsung doesn't want their data to use OpenAI whatsoever. They had a very bad experience. You can just say, "Oh, Samsung OpenAI," you'll know. Samsung's internal R&D document was used by OpenAI for training. I'm like, what? How did that happen? Somebody just got an account through the internal R&D for the next generation phones and threw it out there, right? Data security again, right? So they said no OpenAI anywhere across the company. Accenture said that does the same thing, right? A lot of big companies have these policies, right? Because they want to keep their proprietary information internal. So all of this will be on-prem. Then it will come back and ask these questions. I'm launching a campaign. Is my campaign working or not? Within a week, the data is all there. All the IT guys, data engineering guys, they've done their job fantastically. It's all recorded, 90% accurate, it's there. But is it being used? Can I use this to pivot? Can I change my funding in different channels? All that will come from us. That's broadly the idea. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Ganesh. So if you can see, the question that is asked was analyze the trend of sales across the weekdays. So it had, we have three types of responses here. The first response is a SQL query. So that's how the things go on in the backend. So we're just showing, because if there is an analyst who just want to validate the SQL query, he can just go ahead and validate the SQL query. But the actual thing that business user needs is the second and third part, where the second part being the insights and the third part being the actual data. So this is the actual data that is generated by using the particular SQL query, and this is the some basic insights that they got. You can see that highest sales is observed in the Monday with the total quantity of so and so, and the lowest sales is observed in the Sunday with the total quantity of so and so. And it also giving the values for the remaining 5 days or as follows. So similar to that, you can see some sort of high level insight. So at the first glance itself, business user will be able to understand, okay, this is my sales across the weekdays, and this is how I should proceed with my marketing strategy. So this is how the things go. And we will try one more question maybe. Yeah. So, right. So here is the question. So the question, yeah, can you scroll? Yeah. The question is, what is the sales performance of different product categories across the years? So this is also one more question where business user wants to understand how's the performance and all. Like if you can see, it got what's the performance is 2018, 2019, 2020, and across the years it gave the performance for the product category of TV. So this is how this works. Like this will be a single source of truth for the business user to generate the response. Along with if they are not satisfied with the insights, they can directly dig into the data and see how the data is. So this is how this works. And maybe we can ask some question. So this kind of application is obviously built for a particular organization to work around, right?
I would suggest going to the YouTube video.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Just one question.
Yeah, you can
So
do.
here will show something like you saw right now it's asking the questions, but what if you ask some question which is not relevant to the use case, something that is outside this use case? For instance, we just asked something like, who is the Prime Minister of India? So it will say that I'm a marketing bot, please ask me only relevant questions. So here you can also restrict the questions that come in so that there are no some hallucinations, or you do not get some irrelevant answers to any of the questions that.
Yeah, hope you got the point. These are the particular applications which are built in inside the organization, so they don't want some sort of negativity going around. So you might have seen the news across, like this Gemini is giving some sort of answers, and suddenly Google stock is going down, something like that, right? And so these kind of things shouldn't happen, right? So for building the application inside the organization, we need the application should be completely guardrailed so that it won't give some sort of vague response for some sort of question that user asks. It shouldn't give some sort of your opinion about MS Dhoni or something like that, right? So it should be completely guarded. That's how these kind of business applications work.
We'll make sure it's always possible. He's the greatest cricketer ever. We'll make sure that happens for all CSK fans here. But the point he's making is evaluation metrics, right? It's an important thing. We haven't touched upon it. Like when you put a chatbot live, you can train a chatbot with all galis possible. And it will respond beautifully back with galis, right? It's just like a child, right? That's how we treat it, right? Whatever you give input, it'll give the answer back. Right? So what we do, a lot of our clients do, is measure how accurate is the answer. Like 5 metrics. Again, Setu may cover or may not cover, but I'll just verbally say that. Are you planning to cover it in the next slide, Setu? No? Okay. Last one, right? We may not have time. So important, just putting the solution live. You understand the use case, good. You decide whether it's a offline solution, online solution, good. You decide on the stack. You go put it live, right? Then comes the more tricky part. How do you evaluate? Make sure it's not giving galis to your customers, right? Customers they say, I haven't given my package and it gives a gali. It'll come 3 days later, get lost. It can't do that technically, right? How do you prevent that, right? So there are toxicities. They measure the toxicity of that statement that coming out, right? Coming back to the feedback that you have in these systems. It'll have to go back. How accurate is your response? The customer clicks on the thumbs up, then it'll say it's at 80-90% accuracy level. You'll have to put it. It should not give hallucination. It shouldn't just make up stories, right? When Gemini was making up a lot of stories, it was so funny, right? It shouldn't do that. So all those guardrails is what he's talking about when you're putting it. I'm not going to go into that. That's a very complex area. We have to use another chatbot to measure one chatbot. I'll just summarize that. What, another chatbot? Yes. So we will put like 100 questions. We will ask the same 100 questions. So there'll be a golden chatbot. That chatbot will come and audit this chatbot saying, I've asked you 100 questions. It'll give responses and it'll measure all those 100 questions on a scale of 1 to 5. And then it has to be above 90%. Right? All you production guys who move code to production and understand what I'm talking about. This is your testing sequence for your chatbots. Like what we are seeing is that some customers are using 10 to 20 chatbots for different unique use cases, for different regions. Right? Japan will have a Japanese chatbot talking in Japanese, right? The backend training will all be in English only. Just the translator AI will be there, right? Chinese chatbots are there, but you will have to go and check whether there is any toxicity, is the sentence formation correct, is the answer accurate or not. I'm not going to go into that, but that's the evaluation post go live metrics that are out there.
Yeah, I'll just play the video.
Zoom thing, maybe. Network, huh?
Maybe we'll take a couple of questions in between.
Yeah, over to you.
So, whatever is going on, you have a strong business intelligence content, and you're giving a structured data.
Correct.
Now, again, the mid segment companies, we are mostly at a Power BI and what Tableau.
Correct.
And they have a feature called Q&A.
Correct.
Where you type in down and
Correct.
how the difference is.
Perfect. We just had a video to show you that. Once I think the Zoom, they're having network issues. So what it will do is, let's say I want to understand which laptop is failing. Somebody had a mechatronics question, right? On the backside. The data is there. It's loaded in a petabyte database. We would have processed it and we would have kept it. But he has to go through like 2 minutes digging through that dashboard, this dashboard settings and everything and find that laptop and find out, yes, these are the 3 metrics, that's why it's failing. With the chatbot, you just ask the question, it gives you the answer. Productivity. It'll take you 2 minutes. It is a 2-minute video. 1 hour, 30 minutes, you'll just be navigating the dashboard. Right? For people who haven't worked in a company before, all these companies run on something called dashboards. Right? You'll probably be doing Power BI courses, visualization courses, and all that. That's usually used to make decisions for the company. Right? So people who have experience would have used it. You would have been exposed to some dashboard or the other. All those dashboards, you need it only to see trends. Is my failure rate for this particular laptop? Is my failure rate for this particular car? Engines, is it going down? Right? You go there, you look, you broadly get the trends. And then if you want to go this particular car, what was the specific issue? It will go into your telemetry database, get you the answer. So the ability to get, or in a finance, right? What is the overall accounts payable? How much is this person having? If you trust me, you need 3 dashboards. You'll have to download this dashboard, download that dashboard, do a join, do a table and get the answer. Right? Now what you do is you just ask the question. It'll give you the answer with a pretty accurate answer.
Yeah, just to add on to that, so all these Power BI dashboards and all, they don't have the capability to understand the business. We'll give all the data and all. We'll see the data, and even if you ask something in Q&A, whatever is pulled from the data, it will be giving. But we can empower these LLM models to have some sort of business understanding through the prompt engineering, so that whatever the technical jargons you ask in terms of business and all, it will be able to understand it. It will be able to give the better results. So that's a other important thing that you get out of the box.
One thing is follow up, no?
We'll have it.
We're already 30 minutes late, right? Probably request 15 minutes of your time. And those of you who have other things can leave. But have it follow up. So Sairovid and Devavati will be here. Have a conversation. Welcome to. They're happy to share. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, we'll show a short video that on top of the question that you had asked, like how the dashboards work and how this works.
Yeah, so who have not seen a dashboard in their life? Show of hands. Good, thank you. This is how a dashboard will look. Unfortunately, you'll spend 50% of your time looking at some dashboard or the other if you're an analyst.
Is it audible?
You can hear the audio. We're trying to get the speaker. It's a video file where we have recorded it.
A Power BI dashboards provides us a way to visualize and release the data, allowing users to gain insights and make decisions. With the sample dashboard, we'll see how we can get insights from the dashboard. Let me navigate through the dashboard to answer a couple of questions. The first question, what is the average battery life of all serial numbers? So we are in the summary view of the dashboard. So let me navigate to the battery life view of the dashboard. So we are in the battery life view page. So here we can see the average battery life KPI, which shows 4.47 hours for the selected. A Power BI dashboards provides us a way to visualize and analyze the data, allowing users to gain insights and make decisions. With the sample dashboard, we'll see how we can get insights from the dashboard. Let me navigate through the dashboard to answer a couple of questions. The first question, what is the average battery life of all serial numbers? So we are in the summary view of the dashboard. So let me navigate to the battery life view of the dashboard. So we are in the battery life view page. So here we can see the average battery life KPI, which shows 4.47 hours for the selected serial number. So let me select our serial number here. We've chosen all the serial numbers. So 4.92 hours is the average battery life for all the selected serial numbers. So the second question, how many serial numbers have the memory manufactured by Samsung? To get this question answered, let's go back to the summary view. So in summary view, we have a slicer to select different memory manufacturers. So here, let's select Samsung. I've chosen Samsung memory manufacturer. So it has given us the total units 1227 for Samsung memory manufacturer. So here it takes nearly 10 to 15 seconds to answer each question, navigating through multiple pages and applying multiple slicers.
With Insights IQ, Insights IQ is a custom GenAI solution that helps the users providing accurate answers to their natural language questions. So with Insights IQ, all the users can easily obtain the desired output without navigating through the different tabs or applying filters on the dashboards. And like to check, we can just start with a very similar question with what was tried on the Power BI dashboard, like what is the average battery life? Of all the serial numbers. So if we see, we got the same answer, that is 4.92 years, and this is the SQL query against the same question. And we get to see the answer in a few seconds. The solution helps us to save time, and the users looking for the insights can work with ease. So we can try a second question.
So with this, you could see that we could see that when the same question was tried to be answered on the Power BI dashboard, a very simple question, they had to move through different views of the Power BI. A person has to know which slicer has to be applied there to get the accurate answer and so. But in the same question, if you have a question, so you can directly put in the question in the natural language and you immediately get the answer in a matter of few seconds. So that reduces the overall time or the latency, and also it's of ease to the business users or any user who is using this tool. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
I could see the energy level go down. So I'm not going to take extra time. I initially thought I'll do that. I'm not going to do that. So thank you very much. You've been a very good audience. You've been engaged. Again, we are so gung-ho, right? I can go all day without food, water, anything, right? We are really passionate about what we do. but I understand if your energy levels are down, that's what it is. So what we will do is we will combine the last two sections into one. I'll probably request Setu and Mani to come in. So we have another 20 more minutes you'll have to put up with us. We'll try to wrap it up and then we will close this session. Those of you who have to leave, will leave. Q&A we can have post 12. Yeah, would that work? Yeah, I'm seeing the energy level goes down. Again, number of phones, I'm getting visual data, right? I'm an analytics guy. Dhanda hai, right? Only 95% still haven't taken their phones, right? 5% have already taken their phones. Before it hits like 20% are looking at their phone and closing their eyes. I better wrap up and close the session. Yeah. But in the next 15 minutes, we'll cover two sections. We wanted to give you a code walkthrough. Maybe Setu can give, I want you to see the code, how it actually is, right? From a developer, I'm sure some of you developers want to see that. After 12, okay. If you want a code walkthrough, you can ping Setu and Mani directly, right? They can show you exactly how the code runs. And any Q&As also, we can have it after that. So I'm kind of compressing it, yeah.
So this is the third solution that we'll showcase. This is more on the creative side, right? Suppose you are a campaign manager, you want to generate ads for your product, right? Suppose you are a product manager, you want to understand how the customers are perceiving your product, right? Let's all imagine that, you are kind of a product owner selling some products in Amazon, right? So if we can visualize in that way, I think the demo will kind of excite you. Right, so let's imagine that you are selling a mobile in eBay or Amazon, right? And typically when you list a product, right, there will be multiple different groups of people using it, right? Suppose there's an iPhone, there will be Gen Zs using it, millennials using it, boomers using it, right? And there will be, they might come from different regions, right? People in the US might be using it, Europe, India, right? And their requirements changes, right? When I buy a phone, I look for certain features, but when someone older or younger buys a phone, he might be looking at some other features, right? So this tool is one tool to understand your customers and then generate campaigns based on it, right? So we'll directly go into what are the problems, right? I think you'll resonate on this. Customer feedback is underutilized. Let's say you list a product, you sell a product in Amazon, 10,000 people are buying it, 5,000 are giving some comments. Will you be going through each and every comment to understand what people are talking about, right? What we do usually is we randomly sample, right? We take 10 comments or 100 comments based on the bandwidth. We read what they have given and then we kind of take actions, right? Or traditionally in NLP, what we do is we do sentiment analysis, right? We have a list of words which are positive. We have a list of words which are negative. And then we tag, okay, out of 500 comments, how much is positive, right? That is a max we used to do. But most of the comments are going useless, right? They are basically not utilized, especially if it is a very global product, right? Suppose you are selling an iPhone, there will be millions of reviews coming in and day out, right? So this particular market lens solution will declutter all the reviews, give a structure to it, and then let you take decisions based on it, right? So that is the first pain point. Second is personalizing campaigns. Suppose let's say that you are creating a 1-minute video for your product. You are going to put it in Amazon. Now you very well know that that video might only resonate to a particular section of audience. You want to create 5 versions of it, send it to different segments. Now personalizing campaigns is a very difficult task, right? So it can be in the form of video, posters, marketing messages, taglines, anything for that matter. Suppose you are going to give an ad to a front page of a newspaper, right? What taglines are you going to give? What heading are you going to give? All this is very creative. You have to know your audience. You'll have to understand different segments, then generate this tagline. As Ganesh told, right? This is usually a 6 to 8 weeks even to get the first prototype, right? So this solution is more intended to give you the starter framework and the wireframe to develop further along. Right, so that is the second issue. Third one is outdated personas and campaigns, right? Every day data comes in, but you can only do once in a while. You can look at the feedbacks and then generate ideas, right? You cannot go daily and look at what people have been doing, right? New user groups might come into the product, right? And existing user group might go out, right? So all this is changing every day, and existing marketing campaign tools are kind of, not looking at this particular aspect, right? They are not looking into daily refresh, right? So that is also something you will see. So I'll go to the demo directly, but this particular market lens is basically useful for 3 groups of people. One, if you are a campaign manager, you want to create a campaign, right? For example, new campaign creation, right? You want to design a campaign, or you want to personalize a message. You know that your product is going to do 1, 2, 3, right? 3 features are there in your product. Now, how to market that message, right? How to personalize that message if you are a campaign manager. Second, you are a creative lead. You are responsible for creating ad campaigns, the posters, the images, videos, and everything, right? Then this particular solution can help you create images. We will look in a bit that within a minute of time, it is able to generate a poster for you, right? That we will see in the demo. And suppose you have already created a poster, right? Now you want to test it, right? You want to get feedback from your customer. Usually in the industry, what people do is they do something called ad testing, right? Before sending an ad out to the public, they hire some 100 people and then they kind of ask them for feedback and then improve based on it, right? Again, this is a very time consuming process. And if you're a product manager, you want to understand about the product, right? You are building a roadmap. You want to know what set of features or what is the next big thing going to be for the product, right? Then you can do that. And you can also do competitor analysis, right? So the data for this particular tool is all the social media data, right? People send out surveys, right? Every day they ask customers, how do you like the product, right? So all that data is fed into the tool and then all this can be done, right? So I'll directly go to the demo. So let me log in. So this is a 4-step process, okay? So anyone who is designing a campaign will know that the 4 steps. First is the focus group, right? You will not generate a campaign for global markets. Maybe you do chunk by chunk. Maybe first you do a campaign for the US market, right? That is a focus group. Or maybe the focus group is Gen Z population, right? So you have a product, you sell it to everyone, but you see that, okay, this particular population is not buying the product as intended, right? Those are the focus group, right? Who do you want to improve, right? Which segment you want to sell more, right? If someone is already buying your product, you don't have to work on marketing, right? That is what Apple does, right? If you look at all mobile manufacturers, Apple does not depend on their marketing. People already want to buy the new Apple product, right? So focus groups are people who you want them to buy the product. So we have multiple focus groups. I'll get the consumers here. I'll load the focus group. So what this will do is it will look out for people in that particular focus group, right? And then it will develop personas, right? Personas are basically you have a focus group. Let's say US is your focus group. Inside US, there might be different sets of people, right? So it will look at patterns. This is all powered by machine learning and GenAI. It will look at patterns. It will look at feedback from the customer. Let's say you have a mobile, you invested it in Amazon. Some people say that battery is not good. Some people say I'm buying this product because of the camera. So there are different aspects, right? All that is a persona here. So let me go and look at the personas that was created. All this is a persona, and here it is majorly focused on the age group, right? So you look at boomers here, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z. These are, and we also added some AI related because this feedback itself was for a particular AI product of our company, right? So let's just look at the age group based personas here. You have the boomers, Gen Z, and everything. You also look at, okay, how many people we have sampled. Here you can see Gen X, we have 241 people. So this is not one person, right? It is a culmination of similar like-minded people, right? Here it is based on age group as well, right? So you have boomers, you have 500 odd people, and you look at the brand equity scores, how much they like the brand, things like that. And this is where the magic of GenAI comes into picture, right? So let me open this view, right? Now you get a summary of that particular persona, right? We look at 500 comments, right? This is again a sample. The actual implementation has more than 10,000 comments, right? We look at 500 comments. We let GenAI create a description of that particular person. We exactly know what they like, what they don't like. This is boomers, right? We know what they are expecting out of the product. We also get a sense of what other options are they considering, right? They might go to product A from my brand, or they can go to some other brand as well, right? So all this data, listening to their social conversations in the social media, right? We were able to get a biography of that particular section, right? So now my goal is to create a campaign, right? I want to give a newspaper ad, for example. I want to create the taglines, right? I want to do it separately for boomers, separately for Gen Z. Let's assume that, right? So I'll select the boomers here, and I will also select the Gen Z here. I'll go to the final screen where we let GenAI personify that particular person, right? So you can, there is a chat screen here. Hope you're able to see the screen. So you have a chat screen. You can basically talk with this person, right? So GenAI is not going to reply on its own, but it will take the feedback and the likes and dislikes of that particular age group, boomers in this example, and then it will reply on their behalf, right? So here the GenAI model is taking a persona, right? And then it will reply. So let me ask you.
If you take a customer, you create a detractor. Let's say you launched an Xbox game. So some people say they hate it. There are about 10,000 comments. So you squeeze all that comment, put it into a GenAI chatbot. The next time when you're launching something, you go and ask the chatbot, if I do this, if the background is green, would you like it? It will say I didn't like it. So that is the level in which you'll get. This is also possible only in GenAI. So this will help in product marketing teams and other teams validate their product marketing messages, everything it will get back.
Yeah. So here, if you can see, you're getting the response from GenAI. It is looking at all the responses coming from this particular group of customers and then replying. So the question was, I'm asking it to take the role of a product marketer. Ideally, I am the product marketer, but I want the customers itself to take that role, right? That way, it is more personalized, right? I'm asking it to take a role of a product marketer, and I'm giving a job to it, right? I'm giving a job. This is where the prompt engineering comes into picture, right? We just ask like, what do you like, or something like that. It might not give the best results. Now I am instructing the model to take a role, and I am also giving the example of what is the job responsibility. This is where exactly prompt engineering comes in. I am asking it to create 3 taglines for the product. I am also giving the description about the product, right? Now if you can see, the GenAI is responding on behalf of the customer using their own data, and then you can see the taglines. If you see here, right, you can see that, for boomers, it is more about productivity, getting their potential, taking control, stuff like that. And for Gen Z, it is more about collaboration, right? Things like that, efficiency, things like that, right? So customizing all this will take months for you to do. You have to do it manually, but this tool kind of does it in a matter of minutes, right? So that is where the productivity boost comes in. We are not saying that this is what is going to go into the newspaper ads, right? But for you to even get the first prototype out, you take 4 to 6 weeks. We reduce it to 4 to 6 minutes, right?
That's the productivity. It like 4 to 6 weeks to get to this stage. With the GenAI based solution, you can do it in a matter of a day. That's the productivity gain that you can. Yeah. I'm already seeing a lot of heads down. More people already slept and they got up. Thank you. So honestly, 10 more minutes to go, then the pain will be over. You guys can take off. What I would suggest, Setu, is 2 things, right? I mean, Setu can go on, right? I have to hold him back, as you can see. What I would suggest is we can show the creative being generated. So you got your feedback, and how can a GenAI create a poster for you, right? If you can show that and show a sample code walkthrough, just a high-level screenshot, so that they know that we came prepared for that, but we couldn't do it.
So this is like a cherry on the top, right? Now I am asking, okay, you know more about the data, you know more about the customers than me, right? You have created everything. Now create me a poster for me, right? Create a poster for me, basically. Now it is able to even create a poster for you. This is the GenAI doing the work. So you see, it is exactly determining what should be the tagline, headline, what is a body copy, and what is a call to action. All this is marketing and advertisement terms for you. But we are not only using the customer feedback itself to generate the taglines and everything, we are even letting the GenAI model develop the prototype of the creative for you, right? So the one challenge what we see is people who create these creatives, right, images, they are basically not market researchers, they are hired for this job, they have a disconnect, right? They don't know what the product is, they don't know what their personas are, they don't know like what people are talking about the product. They are given set of instructions from the campaign manager. Okay, do this, do that, but they don't have any other idea. They create campaigns. That is why most of the campaigns are not successful, because there's a disconnect in people doing this work, right? So with this tool, everything comes together in a single solution, right? You get the product, you get what is the focus group, what are the different personas, what they like, what they don't like. Then you create the marketing messages based on it. You give an instruction about the product itself. Then you generate the page. So that is the potential we are seeing. This is going to disrupt the way marketing happens currently, right? Everything is manual right now, right? And everything takes its own time. Again, this is not going to replace all the creative people out there, right? It is just going to help them start doing things more efficient, right? So this is the creative part.
Just flash the screen for code walkthrough. You had something, Mani?
So one more thing to add is in the advertising campaigns that we see, right? There's a lot of iterations that go on. So you don't create one particular creative and then you fix it, right? You need inspiration. You need to create more creatives, right? So for that iterative process, it takes months. So each creative can take multiple months of time. But using the GenAI, you can ask it to improve that particular poster, or you can ask it to take that particular theme, but like create a different poster. So in that way, it would also help.
Exactly. You might see that this is just an image for you, right? But the selection of colors, the selection of font size matters actually, right? And it is different for different people. Here itself you can see, right? For boomers it is bold. I don't know whether there is a bias here, but but you see the difference, right? For Gen Z it is more futuristic. They talk about opportunities, excitement, things like that. For boomers, it is more about control, right? It is more about reliability, trust, and everything. So that is something you can see in the taglines also, I hope, right? If you look at the target audience here, this is tech enthusiasts, but here the business owners. It is assuming that most of the boomers might be business owners or even in a decision-making role in a particular organization. It is kind of personalizing the message to that, which is good for us, right? Because naturally there may be some bias, but mostly it is acceptable to basically do this, right? So yeah. So I'll go to the code walkthrough. There is more to this tool, but just to manage time, I'll just give you a small walkthrough of how the RAG approach works, right? If you look at all the GenAI implementations in the world, right? Let's say there are 1,000 applications with GenAI, 950 applications use RAG.
Can you guys see what's written? No. Can you see? No. Make it bigger. Let me know. At least the guys in the middle. You should be able to see it. It's okay now? Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, we didn't check it earlier. Should have.
Yeah. So as I said, right, 950. Almost 99% of the application uses something called as a RAG approach. If you're going to start with, I would suggest you first look at prompt engineering. Second is the RAG approach, right? So we load the required models. Again, there is no preference here. You can do all this by hand also, but we believe in using packages out there, right? Similar to machine learning models, right? If you want to do a decision tree for that matter, you can write Python code line by line, C code line by line, or you can use packages like scikit-learn to do it, right? It comes down to preferences, but to make these POCs much more faster, we use packages. So one such package is called Llama Index. I think some of you might know it. And there is also the popular LangChain package, right? So if you're going to start with, I think good starting point is one is Llama Index and LangChain, right? You can choose any one of that. What it will basically do is it will make the implementation a little easier, right? Because there are multiple components here. One, you have to connect to the data. So data connection is first component. You'll have to connect to the LLM. That is the second component. Third, you'll have to connect to the user, right? So there are multiple moving components here. LangChain and Llama Index gives you a unified platform to do all this, right? So your job is more about understanding the data, giving prompts. You don't have to worry about each and every step, right? So I'm using Llama Index for this particular walkthrough. We are given the Azure endpoint here, and I'm giving the models here. I'm using GPT-4 model, and this is also something people usually wonder, right? So when we talk about GenAI applications, most of you might know it, there's not one model in the backend, right? There are two models. One is the LLM model, the large language model, and second is something called as the embedding model. Suppose you are doing a RAG-based implementation, you will need two models there. Suppose you don't have RAG, you just have to use a chat GPT like feature, right? Then you don't need the embed model. But if you want to extract data or retrieve data, there is something called as an embed model, right? So equal weightage has to be given to both the models, right? Because usually people think about GenAI application, they say, okay, there is only one API in the backend. Ideally, there are two APIs, right? And these two APIs go hand in hand. Suppose you are using a OpenAI based LLM, then you will have to use a OpenAI based embedding model. Suppose you are using Gemini. Gemini might support only few embedding models. You will have to pick them, right? So that is a minor detail to note here. So I'm initializing all the models here, straightforward. Second step is loading the data, right? It is called RAG for a reason, right? Retrieval augmented generation. So first you will have to retrieve relevant context, give it to the model, ask it to generate, right? So that is why it is called retrieval. So the first step is loading the data. So I am loading some dummy PDF files for this demo, some Uber's, revenue data. Now there are 98 pages here. Okay, so this is the PDF I'm going to load for.
Somebody is asking for an account statement, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? So there are 98 pages in this particular PDF document. I am loading it, and it can be any document for that matter. It can be anything in the world, as long as it is available for you to use. There should be an API available to read it automatically, right? So we shouldn't worry about type of documents. The second thing what I do is I'm going to split this document. Okay, so this is called as chunking, right? Chunking is basically, let's say you have a 100-page document. We split it page by page, so that if there is a question related to something in page 95, I can only retrieve that particular page and then give it to the model, right? If you kind of store the complete document in one chunk, right, then it might not accurately retrieve the data. So what we do is, any data for that matter, we divide that into chunks, right? So here, that is what I'm doing, right? I'm also giving a chunk size here. This is minor detail again. So we chunk the documents and then we save it in some database. Similar to how you have database for structured data, right? You have tables, you save it in a MongoDB, or for NoSQL it is MongoDB. For SQL Server, you have other databases. We have a special database for saving data that is going to be used by your GenAI application. And these databases are called vector databases, right? So that is the third one. If you are someone wanting to learn GenAI, first is prompt engineering, second is embedding model, LLM models, third one is the vector database, right? Because for most application, if there is more than 10 documents, you need place to save it, right? Every time you cannot read the data. Right? Suppose you are going to use it on a daily basis. You cannot every time ask the user to wait for 5-10 minutes for you to read the entire data and then process his question. So you have to save that data somewhere. That special place is called vector database in the GenAI, right? So please note it down if you are going to start here. And this is how we are saving the data. Okay, you might ask what is the format in which we are saving the data, right? So I'm adding some metadata to the chunks being added, so that I can easily identify from where it is coming, right? So for example, you will have something called as a file name, right? What is a file name? What is the total page of that particular file? Things like that. The source is called source is basically the page number, right? You have a 10,000 page document, if at all you have it, imagine it. Then you will have to also identify where the information is coming from. It might be coming from page 552, right? It is not possible for you to identify that information without the page number. So there is a special row for adding the page number. You have the text itself. Text is the chunk. If you split the document, the first chunk, it might hold some data, right? That is there. And right now, you see that, Now, second is embedding, right? So embedding is a very important concept you have to learn. So just in 2 lines, what this embedding will do is, every chunk will have text, right? The text is not saved as it is in the vector database. It is all converted to numbers and then saved in the vector database, right? So that process is called embedding, right? So why do we change the text into numbers, basically to do similarity search. Suppose you are asking a question, okay, who is Bill Gates? Is what is your question? Let's say you have a document about Bill Gates. Now it has to do some kind of matching, right? To retrieve the document. There are multiple algorithms to do matching. One is keyword based matching. You ask who is Bill Gates. Bill Gates is a keyword. It will look for all the files, all the text inside the chunks. Wherever there is Bill Gates, it will take. Right? Now, what if your question is who is the founder of Microsoft? There is no Bill Gates here. And there is no mention of Microsoft here. Now, for that keyword based search will not work. That's why what we do is we convert all those into embeddings, basically number representation of the text, and we see how these two numbers are matching to each other. So who is Bill Gates in your question? We have a vector for it, and the base data has some vector, and then you can do some kind of matching to see what is the closest match to this particular question, right? So that is a process of embedding. I'm not going to go detail.
Sorry, guys. I'm thinking now we should have started off with this code walkthrough, then gone into my use cases. Maybe that would have appealed to all the audience here.
Yeah.
Then next year maybe we'll do the code walkthrough first, then we'll go to the use cases.
Yeah. So once I do the embedding, I save it somewhere, right? There are multiple vector databases, right? Thousands of databases. You don't have to worry. Whatever comes to your mind, whatever comes in the search engine as the top results, you can take it. Right? There is no distinction for doing a POC. Maybe if it is an enterprise implementation, there might be concerns, but you can take whatever you want. But if you want some suggestions, we will suggest ChromaDB, Quadrant. Right? These are the two databases which we have tested for the last 1 year, and we don't see any issues to start with. Right? ChromaDB and Quadrant database. Right? I'm saving all the index. Now the saving part is done. This is the backend. Right? Nothing of this happens on the fly. This is once in a while you search for all the data, retrieve the embeddings, and then save it in the vector database. Second is where you ask the question, right? Okay, this is the prompt, right? Someone was asking about prompt, right? This is the prompt, right? What I'm telling the LLM model is, we have provided the context information below. Given this information, please answer this question. Right? What I'm asking you to do is, I'm giving you the context, right? I'm giving you the information what we have retrieved from the chunks, right? Related to the question. I've given that. Given this information, please answer the question, right? Or else it will hallucinate. If you don't give context, right, it will take its own knowledge and then respond to you. That is something we don't want. This is a very basic prompt, but in actual setting, the prompt itself will go thousands of lines. Right? Because we'll have to explain what is the company about and what is that particular task about, and everything is there, right? Do's and don'ts, things like that. This is a very basic version of that, but it can go, bigger than this, right?
What is the context here?
Sorry?
Context.
Context is the chunk which we have retrieved for that particular question, right? Who is Bill Gates? Yeah, retrieve using the embeddings. We have the embeddings, right? You take two embeddings. Look at how close are they, and then you get a number, right? These are 20% close. We sort it by the ranking. Whatever is the closest, we take 5 or 10 based on the application. That is the context here, right? Suppose you have a backend Wikipedia database, right? It will have information about everyone in the world, right? Popular people. If you are asking who is Bill Gates, it is going to get Wikipedia pages related to Bill Gates alone, right? That will be the top 5 chunks for you, and that will be the context here, right? And then finally, I'm asking you to generate the response, and you can see that it is generating the response. The question here is not related to Bill Gates, but there is a different question.
Is there any chance of this going beyond the total limit? What I would suggest is a lot of people are leaving. After this, they will be here. You can have your one-on-one question. That's okay. You don't want to hold. Some of them are being polite. Thank you very much for your politeness. So if I would request you to hold off on your question, go through the flow, and then the rest of them can leave, and we can have a one-on-one.
Yeah, sure. So the question here is, what is the revenue of Uber? Right? There is a 98-page document. Only one page has the content about the revenue, information about the revenue. Right? That is the question here, and it is able to get the results, the top matching chunks out of it. You can see here, right? So it is taking the source 15th page, 39th page, 38th page. Now, what the embedding model is saying us is, you have asked about the revenue of Uber, right? There is 98 pages in the document. Out of it, which I think 3 pages have relevant information. There is some match about revenue, some information about revenue, right? So those are the 3 chunks which we have printed. 15 is the page number, 39 and 38. And then this is the similarity score, right? Out of 0 to 1, it is saying that the first page, the first is 0.86. That is the matching number, 0.85 and 85, right? Now I'm going to give both all the chunks to it, right? I'm not going to say already I've restricted, the original document is 98 pages. Now I have filtered down, narrowed down 3 pages. I'm going to give the 3-page information to the LLM and ask it to find the revenue from those 3 pages alone, right? So I'm doing that here, right? And then you can see the answer. Okay. The document does not provide specific total revenue figure. However, it mentions Uber revenue for the 3rd quarter because this document itself is a quarter-wise revenue document, right? So it is also very clever, right? It is not just saying that, okay, some number I found, it looks in $1 million or $1 billion. I assume that this is the revenue and it is not giving. What it is very cautious in doing that. It is saying that I am not able to find the total revenue, but I am able to find the 3rd quarter revenue of 2022 to be $8.3 billion, basically, right? And it is also giving how they basically got this revenue, some additional information. Okay, ChatGPT being ChatGPT, right? So this is the basic structure. So you can go and see at the 15th or 16th page, you will get the revenue information here. So I can go to the 30th. I exactly don't know where it is coming from. It should be one of these. And here you can see, right? There is highlights of 3rd quarter, and then you can see the revenue information, right? So this is the basic implementation of RAG. This is one document, but it can be 1,000 documents also, because we run a loop, go one document at a time, do a chunking, save all the chunks with the identifier, what file it is coming from, which page it is coming from, in a vector database. Then we are doing the same mechanism. So it can be 1 page or 1,000 page, and then you can kind of do whatever other things you want to do, right? So yeah, this is the basic walkthrough. Yeah. Any questions? I think I have come to the end of this. So any questions we can follow.
What I would suggest is we close the session. I know a lot of people have been polite to stay back. We close the session. We'll continue the questions. Right? You can have a one-on-one with the Tyagas there, Sidhu's here, Insights IQ, somebody wanted custom LLMs. We'll continue with that session. I should have put this front, no? What do you guys think? Maybe we could have done the 1 hour of code walkthrough, and maybe I should have gone with 1 or 2 use cases. I gave you everything possible out there. This is it. I mean, if you understand everything, you've seen Azure, you've seen NVIDIA, you've seen custom, you've seen structured data, which is text, you've seen unstructured data, which is text and images, you've seen structured data, you've seen the creatives aspect, you've seen the solutions aspects of pretty much touched upon everything. Each of these solutions itself is 2 to 3 hours, let me be honest. I tried to compress it into 15 minutes. I did not expect you to learn LLM. Going out of this session, you should not be doing it. Just wanted to introduce what are the possibilities out there. And I'm not trying to sell the solution. You guys can't afford the solution. So my thing is it's a lot more structured this way. So this is more for a business audience, technical audience. So that was our objective. So we've touched different components. Hopefully this was a good exposure to what is going on in this whole GenAI ecosystem. What are the different problems customers are actually facing? So yeah, with that I'll close my sessions. I'd like to thank my team for coming down here. Love to answer your questions after we close the session. Thank you. Sure. Any questions up here? Happy to answer. Which part did you like?
சார் லைக் உங்க ஜென்னை சொல்யூஷன்ஸ் நல்லா இருந்துச்சு
Oh, அதுவா?
யூஸ் கேசஸ் எல்லாமே மூணுமே நல்லா இருந்துச்சு
Okay. Useful ஆ இருந்ததுல?
ஆ
Ganesh. I had a question. I mean, how is the market for GenAI? Like, you have a lot of buzz, will take some. But like, selling is not. Selling is very new. America is not converting. So I have what is what happened? 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I mean,
Good afternoon, sir. So my name is Ganesh. Sir, actually,